I think most of us know each other, but I'm Jen Slaw, Director of Marketing and Communications here at NSA NYC. Jeanette Brunet is also co-hosting and just will help us facilitate some of the questions. She's our Director of Member Education. And welcome to our special pop-up discussion with Dianne Devitt on the current climate of the events industry. So Dianne and I I was actually participating in one of Dianne's webinars earlier this week, and as we were prepping for the webinar, we were talking just about the enormous challenges that we're facing, in our industry, in our country, in the world right now, and how we can navigate that. And she graciously offered to share her insights from the speaker, but also the meeting planner perspective with our community. So we're thrilled to have her with us this morning. Just a few things about her for those of you that don't know her. She's an industry visionary with global experience as a producer, events director, author, and speaker. She's an adjunct professor at New York University and is the founder of the D&D Group. She's passionate about the power of creativity and live experiences. She's a former president of the International Live Events Association and MPI, Meeting Professionals International in New York City. And she's served on national boards and been the recipient of numerous awards and recognitions. So she knows a little something about the meetings industry. This morning, we really want to keep it informal and open it up to a lot of questions. You can enter your questions in the chat box as they come up. And Dianne is going to cover kind of three main areas. One, first, really looking at the industry. Where are we now? What is the perspective from a meeting planner? What is going on in their minds? Two, sort of where do we fit in as speakers? How do we, collaborate better with our event planner colleagues? And how do we adapt things like our contracts given the current climate? And then third, what do successful virtual events look like? Some of the definitions of different types of virtual events, and what do virtual production companies look like, and how can we navigate that? So again, feel free to put your questions into the into the chat box, as we go along. And as I said, it's a lot to cover in 1 hour. Dianne has offered to do a part 2 if needed, but we'll jump right in and get started. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Dianne.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, and good morning, everybody. It's good to see a lot of you, a lot of familiar faces. That's what I love about this platform. So as Jen said, we have a lot to cover, and I've chosen deliberately to not do a PowerPoint, primarily because we had a major blackout yesterday and a storm. So I was without power from 1 o'clock on, which is just when I was starting to do it. But I thought this is why we'll do it as a follow-up. So since COVID started back in March, I put my producer hat on, and I started to produce, which was quite, I will share with you, subconscious to me, what has morphed into a brand. And I started to produce events that were 3 to 4 hours in length, with the key objective to provide the planning community with information that they need right now while we're all in triage, while the industry is in triage. I read a statistic this week that the tourism business in New York City lost $70 billion from meetings and events, conferences, exhibits, trade shows, parades, festivals, fairs ceasing. So when the wheels stopped, and the wheels stopped for the industry, it trickled down, and this is what's affecting our cities in getting back. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, the global term for the meetings and events industry is the MICE industry. MICE is the acronym for meetings. I is the incentive meetings, which is major investment to destinations. C is conferences, conventions, and E is typically exhibits and events. Each one of them has subcategories in them. So this is what's been going on with each and every one of those subcategories are initiatives amongst each group. So every week on a Thursday at noon, I'm on a call that included the top, and I mean top, 30 to 40 event production companies. These are companies that work with the DNC, that work on the top events in the world. People who had their companies for 30, 35 years had intended to sell them, gone. Now, most of them, what is the pervasive question that they're asking themselves? Well, we have business for 2021, but how am I going to keep my business intact for 2020? So there's that group. Then there's an exhibits industry group. Then there's an audiovisual industry group. So I want you to be aware that amongst each of the factions in the industry are initiatives. There's one that Freeman, who's a major production company, is called Go Live. So then there's the Event Industry Alliance. So I don't know, and I'm planting the seed here, if we have one as speakers. So that's something somebody can think about. I'm looking at Bruce's face right now, but to think about following this, of how to get that voice heard, because just today, there's a man in the industry called Roger Rickard, and he's an advocate for the industry at large, hospitality industry, and he's actually in Washington today doing whatever he's doing for the industry. So I think it's important that you know what's going on behind the scenes with that. I'm on the phone with these day conference centers. Some of you might have heard of Convene or Meet, places where you can have meetings. Obviously, they have zero business, right? So what do you do for the future? How do you plan? Is the triple P going to be forgiven? Is what's going to happen? So they are all working feverishly with their landlords just to keep in business, but also to say to themselves, which I'm going to get to today, is what can I do in the meantime? The prediction from most of the people that I believe are the most realistic is that we are not going to get back to life, well, ever as we knew it, but we are not going to get to a fully confident trust environment for live events until mid-2021 and beyond. That's the reality. So that's the reality check everyone needs to grasp. I was on the phone yesterday and I wear my speaker hat. I'm sure you've all had things canceled, postponed, moved to next year. So I was on the phone with a woman who's in charge of a major exhibit show. It is the top show in the industry for exhibition, the exhibition industry. There's over 175 speakers in the course of 5 days. There are over 300 exhibitors. She moved the meeting twice. The amount of effort and angst and work that goes into that from a contractual point of view and an insurance point of view is mind-boggling. You can imagine, all right? So what is happening on the side with planners is that they've been thrown into this wild frontier that they, just as much as anybody else, were not equipped for or ready for. What's on their mind? So in my event, in the event that we had this week, in one of the breakout rooms, there were 4 planners. One, I will share with you, international money, major planner, senior VP, another senior VP. 2 distinct responsibilities. Dianne, my client, my stakeholders, they want a live meeting. They're insisting on a live meeting in November. Planner number 2, my stakeholders refuse to meet live and take the risk. So now I'm forced to jump into this virtual world of which I know nothing and have to figure it out. What happened this week, and with Jen, is that the meeting that I had scheduled, the event that I had scheduled, and I'm not even calling them webinars because they're more like programs, virtual programs. The topic was risk management, assessment, and the new protocols. And I had the top attorney, one of the top attorneys, 30 years this man's been in the business, in the meetings and events business, on insurance, one of the leaders in the industry. Some of you might have heard of a group called FICP. Wayne was the past chair of FICP. He was on. So these were industry. I had the law enforcement from a company called T&M Protection Resources, a 4-time captain in New York. So I woke up on Tuesday morning to my social media person calling me saying, "Are you aware of what today is?" No. It's Blackout Tuesday. It's this movement going on. Okay, so where do I fit in? So what does that exactly mean? She said, well, it's a stance of what's going on. I get that. What I didn't know at that time was that it started, and some of you might know this, that it started in the music industry, because the second hashtag with that was, and I don't remember it exactly, but like, let the show pause, okay? Because the music industry wanted to stop that. So I made the decision, okay, I'll black out my social media. But then I started to receive calls from one of the speakers. He said, I don't feel right speaking today. I don't feel right. What is this going to say? What we ended up doing is actually collaborating. I said, look, I'm not going to make this decision together. I have the people in this event who are the people I would turn to for guidance and advice. So let's discuss it and figure this out, number one. Number two is, let's go back to basics and remember who our audience is. Our audience is 90% planners. These are the people responsible for when something goes wrong at their event. So we ended up, and Jen, I want you to chime in here, because Jen was a very integral part of that. We decided to not have music, because when I produce these events, I integrate music and entertainment in them. And Jen was scheduled as the closing speaker, the finale. And it was critical to me that she go on, because I know her. And I know her as a speaker, her value, and I didn't want to leave this event with such a somber feeling. I wanted a little levity in it, levity with a message. And that is exactly what Jen delivered. And I tell you that because that's the critical role that speakers have the opportunity with right now. So what are the meeting planners, and what is everybody struggling with? It's getting to know this unknown territory that we're in right now. Part of the, so let's talk about this. In the beginning, there's audiovisual, right? There's an audiovisual company. They're the ones with the lights and the staging and all the equipment and sound, and they go in. Then there's a production company, or some of them call themselves experiential agencies. So the production company has a team. You know, they go in and they'll work with the customer, and they'll say, okay, let's work with you on how to bring your vision to life in this general session, and through this, you know, period of 1 day to 4 days of different speakers on topics, motivational speakers, different kinds of speakers. So that's what the old world was, right? The physical world. But every discussion nowadays is based on this new age. They're not calling it the new normal. The phrase that they're using is the hybrid era, because most of the planners agree that they will never go back to producing an event or planning an event that doesn't have a digital component to it. Now, that being said, that then opens 3 categories for planners. One, what meetings don't need digital? You know, and when and if the time comes, when the board has to meet together, or will that make it a face-to-face meeting more valuable? And then what are the components in that face-to-face meeting? 2, do I do a strictly virtual meeting? And if I do a strictly virtual meeting, what are the concerns that I have from a security point of view, which I'll get to in a sec. And then the third is, if I produce this hybrid, do I want it to live stream? Do I want to record it? And do I want to capture that video and market it when the event ends as a revenue stream? Okay. So all of these questions have been like tumbleweed over the last, what seems like 10 years, but it's only 3 months to all of us. And the reason that things are in a plateau right now, on a plateau, and people are taking a step back is because that's literally what's happening. The companies who were production companies are grappling right now with catching up to virtual technology so that they can get in that game. The digital event companies, and I'm going to give you the name of a few of them to just go on their websites and see the vernacular, see the terminology. One is called EVIA, E-V-I-A. EVIA, and I'm going to go through this in a minute. Jen, don't let me forget this, please, okay? So EVIA is one of them. MAP Digital, M-A-P Digital, okay? Digitel, I think it's D-I-G-E-T-E-L-L. Hey Summit, H-E-Y, Summit, okay? Big Marker, like magic marker, only big marker, okay? So those are just 5 off the top of my head. Now, I've worked with 2 out of the 5 of them in producing my events up to date. The reason I'm not working with them right now, and the reason I'm working on a Zoom platform, is because they haven't caught up to the technology that I want and that's needed for the events that I'm producing. That's what I need you to hear right now. Even the digital event companies who go back 30 years when this first started, because Map Digital is Marianne Pierce, a friend and a dear colleague of mine. She was one of the first in this landscape many years ago, and right over people's heads. So within the landscape of the digital event companies, there's a big disparity. What's that disparity? Okay. Map Digital's product was built for the investment banking community, or that's how it morphed, I should say. All right. Marianne works with Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, on their investment conference. That's the top of the ladder. All right. Every January, 150 CEOs from all over the world come into this meeting live, but then it's also webcast so that it's streaming so that it's available for the people who pay for it. So there's an enormous amount of concern for security at that point, right? I mean, there's 150 CEOs on this with their material. You can't have this hacked. So Marianne has this. Marianne has the product that provides that security. Okay. Now, let me make this analogy for you. What a digital event company is like a big conference center, like the Javits Center, or a big hotel, like the Hilton Hotel. I want you to think of it that way. And what the digital event company does is they say, okay, we're going to have different processes to get our attendees there, but we're going to put the attendees in the ballroom, which might be room A. Then we're going to put the speakers in the green room, room B. Then we're going to put our VIPs in room C. So the digital event company has the ability to manage the flow of the event. Everybody with me with that? Okay. Now that's one, and many of them integrate the concept of registration right into their platform so that it's a secure registration base. It's not on Eventbrite, it's not on MailChimp, it's not on any of these other alternatives. Then you get a platform like EVIA. Now let's go back and think about what's needed for you, or for you to be involved, or for you to think of producing your own. You have to have a registration platform of some sort. All right. I'm personally been using Eventbrite for no other reason that I had it, but I'm currently changing to MailChimp. MailChimp for financial, but also for usability reasons and integration reasons with Swipe and with different platforms like Zoom and Spotify. So you have registration, number one. Number two, then you have your pre-event communication. So what tool is going to let you communicate with the people who have registered? Sending out emails to them, giving them an incentive to attend your event, right? Then you have to have a platform like this, right, to produce your event. Now, if you like, I'm going to use Jay, because Jay politically, Jay might be producing something, but obviously maybe he can't make it public, okay? He can't put all of the people who are attending out there. So what are the meeting planners doing? They're now interviewing these digital event companies and saying, how secure is your site? Is a Zoom platform secure enough? And that was what the problems that Zoom went through when they, you know, when all of this first happened, because you've all heard of these Zoom bombings, right? And this is nonsense. I teach at NYU, and NYU used Zoom, and I asked my students if that happened to them. They said, oh yeah, professor, you know, you don't want that happening in your meeting. But anyway, it's the Zoom has different levels. And so I've now been looking into, we've been looking into different levels of Zoom webinar level, which is allowing different rooms in the house to be managed by a technical producer. When you're producing a virtual event, it's the same as producing a live event. I was just on the phone last night with an industry veteran, 30 years. This woman used to produce events for Mercedes-Benz. She said, give me an education. I have a client asking me, I don't know. So we went through almost a similar thing. So think about all the parts of this and the people that you need. Registration, a list, who you're marketing to, right? Pre-marketing, bringing them in, having the actual platform. Who's going to manage that platform? And then if you want to take it a step further, do you need to take that platform, that one ballroom, and put it as in a part of a bigger hotel so that you can manage it and give it a more, say, professional look, but also a more secure look? So when I worked with this platform called Evia, what did I like about Evia? Well, Evia gave me that home and that big hotel and those different rooms. And they also gave me the closed caption on the bottom, which I thought was great. They also videotaped it in 4 languages. So we had to choose the languages. I think we chose German and Mandarin, Spanish, and English. That was all well and good. But what couldn't they do? They couldn't do breakout rooms in their platform. And that is what a lot of us have become used to, and people have become used to get their voice heard and to have that time with other people. So they didn't have chat rooms set up. Why? Because they're used to just delivering a conference. And by the way, their clients are Amazon. Their clients are Amazon and Starbucks. They're up in Seattle locating. So they had some pretty serious meetings under their belt. So when I started asking them if they could do this, they could do that, they said no. Is this
Dianne,
helping you?
Can I jump in for just a second?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just because you mentioned, you know, recording in 4 languages and that feature, we did have a question come in from Ken.
Mm-hmm.
Just your thoughts on the recording of the event and whether to share.
So I'm going to get to that,
yeah.
Ken. Okay. I'm going to get to that right now, in fact. And that's going back to, like, let's go back to the beginning here, is like any event that you do, the key thing is what's the objective? What is the objective of the event, but what's your super uber objective? And I'll use my situation as an example because I'm living this right now. So I started to do these events, and I started to produce these events every 2 weeks. 3 to 4 hours is a lot of content. 7 to 9 speakers is a lot of content. And I said, you know what? I also made the decision at the beginning to charge for these. So
Looks like, Dianne, you froze for a minute. Is everyone else seeing Dianne frozen?
Yes.
Let's see here.
Yes.
Frozen here too.
Yeah, hopefully she didn't lose power again.
Hopefully, yeah. Dianne is in Ocean County, New Jersey, and she was without power. They had a terrible storm there all last night.
It happened to my mother too. She's in Philadelphia. That's weird.
What a shame.
She's calling me. Dianne. Okay, so yep, confirming her power just went out.
Oh gosh.
So
my.
unfortunately, there's nothing she can do about that.
So Jen, can you put her on speakerphone? Is it possible
Yeah, let me
to run that through Zoom?
We're just.
Let me see if I can get on with my iPad. Would that help?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we were just discussing, or if I can somehow have you on speakerphone.
Yeah, no.
I can hear her.
Tell everybody I'm going to load in with my iPad. Give me 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Bye.
She's gonna try-
Actually, this is a good opportunity for us when Dianne comes back to talk about what should happen, what we should do if this happens to us when we're giving a virtual presentation.
Right. Yeah. Great point, Bruce.
Actually, I
I'll
heard
mute
somebody
myself.
on the Cigar Peg yesterday talking about how they dial in with 2 devices.
Yeah.
So they're in the meeting on their primary, but then should that go down, they've got an immediate just switch over to the other device, which I thought
And-
was interesting.
Yeah. And people also talked about using your phone, having that set up and having that ready in case it happens.
You can also get a small mini battery that holds you for an hour.
That's a very good idea.
Just to hold your, basically it's about your internet, making sure that your internet is still running, and power on your computer, unless it's, if it's a laptop, it should hold you for an hour.
You know, that's great at all of you. That's great advice. I've never even thought of that. I've had the power go out in a room, total, and you know, we had to stop, but I had never even considered this as a possibility. So we need to be prepared.
Yeah, I live in an area where we lose weight. Where we lose.
I want to move there.
I want to move to that
I wanna
area.
move there
lose weight
too.
on a regular basis.
Do they lose inches as well?
We lose weight on a regular basis. We use power on a weight. I don't know what that was about.
That's wonderful.
You know, if Dianne isn't back yet, this is an example of what I've been listening to and learning, is that it's really nice to have a break when the speaker is speaking to give people an opportunity to
Yeah.
share or do something different. So this is a perfect example of that.
Great
that we
point.
connect
Renee.
and-
Great point.
And
Yeah.
then
So in our future
ready for
meetings,
her.
when you're hosting a meeting in the future, just cut off the speaker and
I
then
know.
Are you
run
there?
out.
Time to chat.
She may be back. I saw her iPad.
Amazing how that happens every
Another
time.
thing you can do is just cut yourself off for a minute if you need to regroup yourself.
Let's see if that
Great
I
idea.
like that.
Tell them you lost power.
looks like her iPad just joined.
Well, I have a second wireless router that I have that's on.
Jeanette,
that I-
Jeanette,
for my
that's
phone.
an interesting cup you have.
Oh, my cup. You like my cup?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, there you are, Dianne.
I call
Oh,
it my virtual cup.
Juan, you noticed.
Wow.
It's called Warm Buddies Mug.
Okay,
Dianne, we're back.
Yay.
we'll
So,
take that.
so Bruce was just saying this is a great opportunity to talk about what we do when that happens.
You know, and that's on my list, all right, which is that's on my list, which is why when I brought up so what's the advantage of working with a production company is that you have that backup. So if that were to happen in real life, it wouldn't happen. Like the production companies have their own. If you come in on a Zoom platform, when you come in as an attendee, they take over that under their umbrella. So that if the speaker or someone has a problem like that, they go into default mode. It's the reason why Jim Spellos, who works with me, whenever people will, you know, yes, I can handle my own slides. I can certainly know what a screen share is, put my slides up. We always ask for the slides as backup. Okay. So that's one of the critical things. So that was actually, that was not planned. But it was a good recovery. Yeah. So we all need different devices nowadays. All right. So just picking up where I was talking about, I think, the production companies and the whole process of working with them and what your objectives are. So I was faced with this. So now I have this situation where I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm 2 months into this, and I realized that, yes, as a speaker, this is my brand now. Like this is, Amanapur meets CBS Sunday morning. And this is going to continue in one way or another. But what do I do with this good information? And how can I use it? How can I help people, and how can I get it out there? So I started then to do research on Vimeo, because now I'm learning from these production companies that, yes, so Evia records it and videotapes it, records it. But then they own it. And the way that the digital production companies' platforms have been programmed up to now is that you as a client, so if their client is a JP Morgan gets one URL, it's basically that one URL opens up what could grow into the Library of Congress with all their meetings. Well, that didn't work with me, because I said to him, wait a minute, if I want to monetize each of these separate events that I'm doing, because they're each different themes. One is on risk management, one is on marketing, one is on the transition we're all going through. How do I separate them? They were not able to do that at that point. And that's when I started to do the research on Vimeo. So now you go back and you say, okay, so I need a registration platform. Then I need a platform to communicate, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp or however I'm going to integrate that. Then I need a platform to produce it. But then I need a platform for post-event, or what they're calling XR now. XR is the term, is extended reality. Okay? XR is extended reality. So there's AR and there's VR, but now there's XR. That's the latest term. So Vimeo allows you to have an unlimited amount of videos, but they also give you the option to charge different platforms. Okay. And so you can, so like I said, okay, fine, with my events, and I share this with you as speakers, you produce an event. Right after the event, it might still have its full value for a month. So if I'm charging $29, and I spoke with marketing experts, they were like, Dianne, yes, $29, great value for 3 hours of substantial content. You can market that $29 for a month, but then afterwards, $19.99. Then after that, for perpetuity, $9.99, or whatever it is. It's kind of like a movie. They make the analogy of going to a movie in a theater, you'll pay full price, but when you're on Netflix, you want the bargain. Okay? It's the same thing that we have to think about with the value, or not, if the value doesn't diminish that way in terms of video and keeping it alive there. But what are the pros and the cons of going on Vimeo? You're then global, and your work is global. Now, let's get back to that question of the 4 languages, because that was another question I said to Evia. I said, this is wonderful that you're videotaping this in 4 languages. But how, and I love the idea, because I would love to have my programs in 4 languages to market that. But you're telling me that I don't have access to your library to monetize them, to use them, to download them. So they're working on fixing that as a value added for their customers. So do you see what I'm saying? In other words, it's kind of like no 2 production companies are alike. No 2 digital event companies are alike. There are so many different categories, and we're just talking about meetings and conferences now. There are so many different categories and types of meetings. And that's what's happening right now in this Wild West frontier, is that the different companies are trying to figure out where they fit and who they best fit for. Now, where do I don't want to go over time.
I was just going to ask you, Diane, to,
Yes.
you know, if it's not us as a speaker who's producing the event, and if we're not, you know, contracting directly with the production companies, but we're working through an event planner or something like that, to maybe speak a little bit about.
That's exactly where I'm going next. Okay. So where is the role for the speaker in this? Like, people are using the analogy, I use the phrase, people are trying to put a puzzle together without having all the pieces. Okay. Just like Jen, I'm going to go back to the example with Jen. The key reason that Jen became such an asset in that meeting is that the title was risk management. Assessment, you know, what is it? Assessment, analyzing, and protocol. And it was the underlying tagline was juggling all of the pieces. Okay. So you all have such talent and content and the ability to be an integral part of this. So how do you fit in the scheme of things? I'm going to make the analogy like an entertainment company. So I just spoke to a woman with an entertainment company this week. The bands, the circuit, the you know, the woman, the cirque, like the cirque act, they hang from the wand and they pour the champagne. She's not going to be doing that for a long time. But I consulted with her. She's doing an animated version. Because as things lift, and as we go through this next year with, you know, the seriousness of it, how can you transform what you do to being a value added in a meeting as the meetings start to learn what they need? How can you make yourself needed in a meeting? And say, if you're in a virtual meeting and your topic is blank, okay, I can help you with this. So there are waiting rooms in meetings. Let's go through the format of a meeting. There is a waiting room that you were all in. Then there's a welcome and introduction. Then there's content. There's the program. And then there's typically a chat. Then there's more content. Then sometimes there's a break. There has to be a break. And so on and so forth. All right. Knowing the agenda of a meeting, knowing the content of a meeting, knowing the objective of a meeting is where you fit in, and where I think you have an opportunity from your marketing materials to focus the discussion on that. Okay. And if there's any, I can't see chat on my iPad here.
We did have one question. Your thoughts on eSpeakers is currently offering a certified virtual speaker credential.
Listen, I think any certification is a good one. You know, I think any certification is an awareness that you're aware of the new platform. All right. So I want one, by the way. I want to get one because I'm all for accreditations. Excuse me. I also wanted to throw this out to you too, so I don't forget. Are you familiar with Slido? Are you familiar with the platform Slido? I think it's SLI.do. Slido is a poll. So just know that too, because that integrates in a lot of these programs as well. But let's go back to you, all right? I don't care if it's a physical meeting or a virtual meeting, all right? You want to be part of that theme and that message, and how you can be a bridge. You can be a bridge to bring it all together for the attendees. If your content is serious, where do you fit in between the two talking heads? If you're a good facilitator and an MC, people are desperate for that right now. Make a sizzle reel, a 1 to 2 minute.
Diane, you had mentioned just kind of differentiating, like defining some of the things we're hearing, like webinar versus
Oh, yes.
virtual workshop. That'd be great to hear as well.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that, Jen. Yeah, but do the sizzle reel, and do understand that meeting planners understand that webinars are so boring and poorly done. They don't know how to they don't know how to produce it themselves. An online meeting is a combination between the logistics that the planner is used to for a physical meeting and production and entertainment. So they're not trained in this. We need to give them the tools. So let's go over that quickly. What do we have? Okay, good, 15 minutes. So we have webinars. So webinars are what everybody is dying from right now, right? You go online and you don't really have order. You don't have a topic and you have a talking head. Hopefully that's not going to be me today. But you know, that's really what a webinar is. And people just they're literally zoomed out, as you know, with content with it. Preview, make a note with this, Preview Magazine, Prevue, Preview Magazine, Barbara Scafidio did an article on the differences. I actually conferred with her, the differences of different types of meetings that are evolving as we speak. Okay, so, but let's go back. A webinar is typically one subject matter expert in a short period of time, 30 minutes to an hour, done. Okay, that's a webinar. One subject, that's it, all right? You have the terminology that's a virtual conference. A virtual conference is probably more on the likes what I'm doing, which is one theme or one topic, one objective with anywhere from 5 to 9 different speakers with a dynamic. When I say dynamic, I say that to you only, a dynamic agenda in terms of timing and format. Now, even the pros are struggling with this right now, everybody. Even the pros are struggling with, how much time do I give this? When Jen came on and spoke with at my session, it was 15 minutes. It was very TED Talk, okay? Because that's the model that I use. The model that I use is Robin comes in, she speaks for 10 to 15. Give me that bottom line, Robin. Then give me ahead of time those 2 to 3 questions that I can provoke and start a conversation with you, and then we engage chat. People don't know how to do this, and if they don't know how to do it, put it in your contract that you'll help them, and you'll help them with that. All right, so webinars, virtual conferences, virtual events, different. So virtual events are just that, you know, they're more, I think they're taking the format of just like a typical event. They're social. We've all been on the cocktail party call, right? We've all been on different calls, but when will a live event come on? I just read something this morning. You'd be happy that from Luxury Daily, that luxury brands are looking to live events to entertain their customers, to engage their customers. Everyone's in the same boat. Okay, so webinars, virtual conferences. Oh, then there's been the Liz King, who's one of the 40 under 40 in the computer, in the events and meetings industry. They actually did a meeting last week that was 3 days of content. It was called, I think it was called Engage, and I'll have to get that to you. I'll remind myself to get that to you. It's still accessible. It was nonstop content. Now, it was a half hour here, 45 minutes there. Now, I went on it during the time, and you could hear anyone from Nike to Microsoft to the top brands in the world were on here. Different type of meeting. It was a 3-day conference that was online. It was meant for information only. so that it was streamed and you could download it and you could access it at any time.
Yeah, I actually attended an event, Diane, called the Virtual Event on Virtual Events
Yeah.
last weekend. That was a 3-day event, and it was really talking about how the 3-day live event could be a structure for, especially for speakers, authors, thought leaders who have a high ticket offer to promote at the end. There's a structure that can really enable you to offer a lot of content and then offer your product at the end.
Well, this is what I'm going to throw out to all of you, because I love you and you're my family. I will help you produce an event for speakers that we can do maybe over a 1 to 2 day. Let's just talk about this offline. A 1 to 2 day, but you got to all get your act together on how you're going to go virtual. And you get on for like 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and you talk about your topic of expertise, and then we market it to the planning community. All right, but let's get back to that.
We have about 10 minutes left.
Yeah, let's get back to, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I'd love to open it up to Q&A if anyone wants to jump on and unmute yourself and just go ahead and speak up. Yeah, Jeanette.
I have a question, Diane. Thank you for this. This is a great overview of everything. My question is, what do you feel event planners are looking for in terms of our content changing to be adopted to what's going on right now? And how do you feel that that we should go to event planners and say, listen, I can speak to this? Like, how should we approach people?
Okay, so I'm very sensitive to you, and yes, event planners, and yes, also meeting planners, right? So, and hear me when I say production companies too, because they're still the ones looking for you.
Got it.
You need to prepare, we all need to prepare our content to be in 15-minute, 30-minute, 45, I would say never 45 minutes right now, but that would be the rare exception. Okay? That'd be the rare exception.
So Diane, I'm sorry, you said 15 or 30?
15, yeah, 15. I would go for 15, 30, and max 40 if you were live.
Okay.
I would always have an engagement part to your, always have an engagement part to your content. Taking a vote, asking a question, Let me ask you this. How many of you have done any of the virtual meetings right now? Just go in the chat and answer yes, because I can't see everybody. Yes or no, Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it looks like several people have
That's really cool. Yeah, that's good. So you're getting your feet wet in it. But that's the bottom line, is there's no perfect right now. It's all progress. Okay, it's progress. It's progress, not perfection. And I'd like to come back to and talk about, which I'm sure some of you know, just production quality. Like Diane, it's great. And Diane, I'm going to use this because I love you. It's great to have a palm tree background for this, because we all wish we were there, but it's very distracting in a meeting. It's great. Like I mean, I came on a little plane today, but I don't wear big earrings. You've got to be on the camera. It's like, remember when HD TV came out? You could see the people's like pores in their skin. That's what people are seeing with you. So, you like, I'm cognizant of makeup that I wear and this that I do and what's the background, and everything picks up. But let me go back. I also want to give you another name so you can research it. Event Marketer is the name of the magazine and entity that targets all the CMOs and marketing people. So Nike and Adidas and all of them are a part of that. Look at their website and the programming that they're doing. A lot of it is free webinars as well. And see what people are doing. But going back to you, right now I'm in the process of working on a Sizzle Reel as a facilitator, as a moderator, as an MC for other meetings, because that's the feedback I've gotten from people who join mine. They want me to help them with theirs. So, and then I also, on the flip side, am working on a creative program that I'm doing online. What's your content and how can you translate it? And the beauty of NSA is that everyone is family. If you're not sure, maybe we do these workshops where you can experiment what works with us. If you need to, if you're not sure. That's just a thought. But just, you know, I know we're at any other questions? Anybody have any questions before we're out of time today?
Just a comment. I learned about what you just said about a background. I have a background here, but typically when I would do something, it would be a screen with nothing in the background, because there is a, it does affect you when you have too much going on. Also, I get red cheeks, so I have used my wife's rouge because somebody might think I've been drinking. Not at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's for sure.
Maybe we should be.
Maybe we
yes.
should. Anyway,
Yes.
I have to go. I have to do a opening for something else. Wonderful. This is being recorded, isn't it?
Yes. Mhm.
Wonderful. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, folks. Love you.
Okay.
We did have a question from Glenn, just if you could talk about getting paid for virtual, our companies, planners paying for virtual.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, of course.
Mhm.
So the reality right now is that nobody is paying for anything. That is the reality. Let's think about this. There are no meetings. The magazines in the meetings industry, North Star Communications, who is the leader of the pack with 15 publications, went digital for the rest of this year. Okay? They're offering webinars. Now, yeah, good. I'm glad, Jeanette. They're offering webinars. But then let's switch to what Jeanette said. It depends on who your customer is. There's still money out there with companies, and there are companies who want to engage their employees who are at home right now. So there are budgets. I think that in terms of your fee, people would expect maybe a less of a fee, but I'm going to tell you as a producer and as a planner, don't work for nothing. Okay? I know I just contradicted myself, but let me explain it to you. My customers are a lot of magazines, hotels. They don't have the revenue coming in yet. So what I'm doing with them is saying, you want to come on in as a sponsor partner, but I need you to market this to your database. All right. So if their database is 40 to 50,000 people, I'm getting that exposure. All right. If I were going to be hired by a company, by a corporation, by an association, then I would tell you what I would estimate is probably half your typical fee, or 3/4 of it. But here's the other thing too, which again is new territory. How can you keep it going? So it's not just if you work on their virtual event, keep that conversation going and say to them, look, I'll work on this here, but let's also put in the contract that when you have a live event, that I'd like to speak at it. Have the discussion. If you fit in the live event when the time comes, that you can owe them that just to keep that relationship going. Or can you extend the experience and keep a chat going on your topic with their people? However you can, think of different price streams in this new market. Does that make sense? Does that help you a little bit? That's what I'm doing. That's why I share this with you.
Can I, Diane, this has been great. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, who's that?
This is Jerry Valentine.
Oh, hi, Jerry.
Hi, Diane. You've mentioned a few times a speaker reel. Are you talking about a different speaker reel for virtual or our standard live speaker reel?
No, I'm talking about a virtual reel. Just
okay,
to capture the video of you speaking. And you know, this could be an idea too for the chapter, Jen. I'm just thinking, you know how we do that, what is that day when everybody goes on stage?
Speakerpalooza. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, make it virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Make it virtual. Let's capture video of everybody on screen.
Yeah, it's an idea.
Yeah. Yeah, just to think about that.
Can I just say that for that, John Amato, our photographer of Extraordinaire, actually offers a really great package for whenever you have anything virtual, or you can set up a photography session with him that looks like you have a virtual event, which gives you something for either a reel, a video for a client, or something like that.
Yeah.
You can actually send a video message that he has shot through doing it as virtual. And those are some of the ideas that will promote you as a virtual speaker. Just saying that it would be great to
I worked with John, and I have to tell you, I wish I could find, I don't know where I put the, his work is fabulous, and it
While
shows
you're, Jeanette, while you're on, Jeanette has to jump off right at 11. I'd love for her to just tell people about our upcoming mastery class next week.
Yes, we also have a mastery class coming up, and we have shifted the focus. It is Brian Fanso. Instead of talking about how to get social fans, we're going to talk about how to actually set up your virtual presentation. He's going to go through gear. He's going to show you how to use your slides differently. He's going to show you how to create a different kind of experience for your audience. And he's going to go through all the different aspects of moving over to virtual and create impact. So I hope you can join us for that. And yes, I believe all our mastery classes are free right now.
Good.
That's an answer to you.
Yeah, like I say, and that's what I leave you with, is like, remember your value, but as always, know your audience. What are you getting this and that? I think it's a give and take. But yeah, don't be afraid to charge if it's appropriate. Know your audience, right? So, and that's the key. That's the key to anything. And that, getting back to the beginning of this, knowing our audience was 90% planners helped us make the decision to move forward with the event on Tuesday. To over 117 people, 15 people signed up an hour before, and 90% of them were planners. That's how critically committed they were to know the information. So anyway, I hope this was a little helpful to you. I know it was more conversant than the ring, but you did get some good tips and good feedback. Does that help? Yeah.
Thank you, Diane. Very substantive.
And you're welcome. And like I say, just remember too, is everyone in the meetings industry is in a tumbleweed situation right now. And they're all weighing what to do. It's going to be very interesting because NPI, and I'll leave you on this note, NPI has their meeting, they moved it twice. Now this is a whole nother category for you, but I want you to understand this, okay? They moved it twice. They have it, I think, going live right now in September. Who knows what September is going to bring with COVID? It's going to be a very big statement for the industry, but understand that this concept of people holding on to live meetings right now, 95%, 99% of the root of that is that their force majeure clause is based on the restrictions and the guidelines of the local cities and the states that the hotel is located in. So if the meeting planner has a hotel booked, a meeting booked in Georgia, I'm just throwing this out without any facts, Georgia, right? And Georgia state opens, then that meeting planner can't, well, I won't say can't, but let's just say it's going to be a harder legal fight to break that contract than if she's in a state that is still closed. Do you follow me with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
You need to understand that meeting planners right now are under, the ones that still have their job, because one of the major financial companies went from 22 in their department, they're down to 2. Okay? The ones that have their job are under so much stress right now from a legal and a finance point of view, dealing with their CEOs and their stakeholders who don't want to lose money. And so, it's unfortunate, but you fit in the category, like most of my colleagues from the events world, which is where do we fit in the scheme of things? We'll be the ones to help people come back. But that's what's going on right now. So just use this time to prepare, and I'm here. And I like doing these group things because I feel like it can help you. So any last questions before we sign off?
Yeah, any last burning questions? 3, 2, One.
All right, everybody.
Thank you,
Just
thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
for
Thanks,
your time.
Diane.
Thank you very much.
For these great
just
Good
take
job.
care of yourselves, all right? Remember
Yeah.
how valuable you are. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Great idea.